Oh, Travis West. The name of the publication is West of Kentucky. I wrote a criminal complaint for him with exhibits, and he published it. I did it. Got an ISBN number on it and everything, and the book is called West of Kentucky. Here's a man who was on record with the Kentucky taxing authorities, and he didn't believe he owed an income tax on his wages. And he was on record with a letter saying, I think this, I think that, I think that, and for these reasons, I don't have to file or pay. So without approaching him prior, the Department of Revenue investigated him with their investigator, Mr. Robert McKenna, and this is the Kentucky Department of Revenue, went to the prosecutor, Larry Cleveland, I think was his name, and this is probably 4 years ago. They brought 7 tax evasion charges against him under Kentucky state law. These are felonies. And he was headed for trial. He called me on a Monday night and introduced himself. It was 6:30 in the evening, and said, I have this letter on file with him. And I said, well, that's one of the definitions of innocence. If you have a good faith misunderstanding of the law, even if it's unreasonable, you're innocent. I have a 2014 memorandum from the DOJ filed in a tax criminal case in 2014 that says so, right from the DOJ. And I know they can't deny my arguments. Section 83A is Kentucky state law because Kentucky state law adopted the Internal Revenue Code as the way to determine state taxes. And they violated Section 83. That's one. First and foremost, though, he proved he was innocent by proving he has a good faith misunderstanding of the law. They never bothered to reply. Well, that's a definition of innocence. Okay, so they've indicted an innocent man. They arrested him and allowed him out on his own recognizance, pending trial, and appointed counsel. Counsel, I know, knew nothing of Tax Code Section 83A. It's a club. You use it. And I wrote the pleadings. He beat that attorney up over the fact they didn't know anything and fired her. And so they appointed another and said, this guy doesn't know anything about tax law, get rid of him. I want effective counsel. They appointed another one, same thing. You're out of here. They said, you got to go get your own attorney. Well, they gave him these first attorneys at public expense because he can't afford his own attorney, but all they had were derelicts, and so now you got to go get your own attorney, even though we've already ruled in form that you can't afford one. So he contacted 28 attorneys, 4 of them replied, and all 4 of those that replied said, we don't want the case. So he went to trial on 7 felony counts, pro se, without an attorney, did a terrible job, his knees were knocking like a pro, and was convicted on all 7 counts. And I drew up a pardon request to Governor Matt Bevin that said, these are the definitions of innocence. If it's not imposed by clear language, if the average individual can't understand it, if it's void for vagueness, if it's vague or highly debatable, if the taxman can't put his finger on the law authorizing the tax. Those are all instances where the taxpayer wins, according to all of these cases. And here you're putting a man in prison when the law's a secret and he's on record with a good faith explanation of the law, which proves he's innocent. He's not willful. See Exhibit C, maybe, to this complaint, which was the government's memorandum from 2014. And I told the governor, I wrote this myself, I filed it myself. I didn't write it for the defendant to file on his own behalf. I told the governor, he deserves clemency for these reasons. He's innocent for this one. And you can't explain the law because the DOJ can't even explain the law. And so you know he's innocent for that reason as well. And if you don't give him clemency, you're pretty much joining in a capital offense, aren't you? 18 U.S.C. 241, conspiracy against rights, 10 years in prison, federal felony. If 2 or more people conspire against your rights. 18 U.S.C. 1201, anybody who unlawfully inveigles, decoys, seizes, confines, or otherwise conceals somebody for ransom or otherwise is guilty of kidnapping. And you can get up to life imprisonment for that. But that's if one person does it. Go back to 18 U.S.C. 241, the 3rd clause says, If the conspiracy to violate somebody's rights between two or more people includes an attempted kidnapping or a kidnapping, they could get the death penalty. So in this pardon request, it was the criminal complaint was the exhibit underneath my pardon request, and the criminal complaint he filed against them was the exhibit for kidnapping and conspiracy. A criminal or a capital offense he accused them of in a criminal complaint against the Director of Revenue, his inspector, and the prosecutor. And I explained in this pardon request that you can't explain the law because everybody else will fail also. I've got the track record, I've got the docket numbers right there. And so you can't explain the law to this man, and yet you're going to send him to prison. It makes you complicit in the capital offense alleged in the criminal complaint. 7 counts of tax evasion, felony counts, guilty. And he was allowed out on a payment plan. Trust me, it's a hen's tooth. All I do is talk to people who are in battle with the system. You don't hear of this. Tax cases, you go to prison, period. 7 felony counts, and he was let out on a payment plan. That doesn't happen, which means somewhere behind the scenes, the governor's on the phone saying, well, can you explain the damn statute or can't you? And it hit home somewhere. So sometimes justice might happen. Look how hard I had to hit him. A criminal complaint for a capital offense, kidnapping with a conspiracy with a kidnapping. You haven't seen those 2 statutes put together before. The publication is called West of Kentucky, and it's available where I sell my printed products. So Travis West was let out on a payment plan. So it should indicate to you the level on which I can actually be effective if I could get somebody to listen to me.